Michael is going through some stuff in this one.
Pam, I have a loaded gun in my desk at work.
Cool if this video hasn't been demonetized yet. My name is Chris and I'm reviewing every episode of The Office ever. And today we're looking at The Viewing Party. Written by newcomer to The Office but longtime Simpsons writer John Vitti, Viewing Party follows the office staff to Gabe's apartment to watch Glee. And it plays out in a way that only makes sense in the Office universe.
Please, Michael, just make the Glee happen.
Good luck, Michael.
Got a lot to get to, including...
I've been raising children since I was a baby.
And...
It's springtime in the Rockies! No.
And
all that jazz. I just have a different lifestyle.
So let's go.
They should do that thing where they play the really good music to get him to come out.
I understand nothing.
Alright, so some of the office staff might be Gleeks.
And I know what Glee is. I am a total Gleek. I love
me
it.
too.
I never really got into the show myself. I've seen an episode or two in my time, so I kind of get the gist of it, the tone, and what it's about. But I am sorry if there is any nuance that I might be missing in the Viewing Party episode as it relates to Glee. All that stuff's going to go right over my head. So leave any of your thoughts about that in the comments. But let's get started with some things I did notice. First, have you ever noticed during Michael's talking head about the wonders of frozen vegetable bags?
That steam right inside their own bag. So I'll get a glass of sangria, sit down in front of TV, a bag of vegetables. Before you know it, I'm ready for bed.
Sad talking head, by the way. But in the background, Oscar is playing some charades. Looks like he's saying a film, 4 words, first word, back, second word, then he blinks the 2, back, 2, then the scene cuts, so I guess we're never gonna know what the answer was.
Oh, Dawson's Creek.
No, it has to be a real person, Jim, come on!
What's common knowledge now is what the Chinese translates to.
Hi Ma, Booyao, Ganzhou, Luangao.
Also, I think this is supposed to be a clever nod to us, the audience.
You know what my favorite character is? The invalid. Yes, I'd love to come to your party.
And the last little behind the scenes thing that I thought was interesting is that the concept for this episode was pitched by Mindy Kaling. I have to assume then that this talking head is just Mindy and not Kelly.
First, they say that Mr. Shu doesn't know anything about choreography. And then like 3 episodes later, he's this fantastic choreographer. Pick a lane, people.
None of that stuff really matters, so let's talk about something with a little more meat.
Wanted to eat a pig in a blanket. In a blanket.
There's an awful lot of theories coming out of this episode. Like the fact that the car that we see in the Strangler cold opening has been in the office parking lot before. Occam's razor here is that it's just one of the actual film production crew members, actual cars. But it is weird that Tobes isn't in the office that day.
Bet he's wishing he had a hybrid, right? 60 miles to the gallon in the city.
No, I bet he's wishing he was strangling someone.
Okay.
And while I started this episode suggesting that Michael's on the verge of a breakdown, Toby may actually already have had his.
Why you always gotta be so mean to me?
Toby's absence is unexplained in this entire episode, so, take that for what you will. In other theories, I talked about the Alcohorse Theory way back in one of my theory videos. This was during a string of videos about why The Office continues to get crazier and crazier as time goes on.
The fire's shooting at us!
What in the name of God is going on?
The Alcohorse Theory suggests that Andy has some brain damage due to this incident, which would explain why some of his behavior becomes increasingly bizarre over time. Moving on, let's talk about viewing parties for just a moment. I have a weird relationship with this one. If you watched the last episode, you kind of get a sense why.
You were making this harder than it has to be.
That's what she said.
Because the people who are acting in ways that seem to make sense to me in this episode are actually kind of the villains, I think. For example, Michael wants to turn the volume up, which seems, important for a Glee viewing party, so you can hear the songs.
I'll just turn the captions on.
Did you guys know that there's like this raging argument on the internet about whether you should use closed captioning or not when you're streaming? Like, people will argue about anything and take these weird stances about stuff. Team captions all the way, by the way. But back to this, like I said last week, social gatherings and me, we have a checkered past. I never did this with Glee. My wife and I did used to host Walking Dead parties, every single week. And it's important in these kind of social situations that everyone knows the rules of the viewing party.
Yeah,
Because we keep stopping it to get a history lesson
know the
about
rules.
television
I didn't
when
know
some
the
of us
rules.
just
There,
about
it's
it.
on. It's on.
To make sure that doesn't
I
happen.
didn't
So
read the
what
rule
is in
book.
it for you?
We're not here to talk about theories or questions or our thoughts on every single interaction.
That woman. She's been in a couple of episodes of Friday Night
You
Lights.
know what? I'm so confused. Is this a Glee watching party or is this a Glee pausing party?
We're here to experience something together. And we had one rule during these parties, and it was no talking during walking. Talking is for the commercials and, the conversations that would happen over the stretch of a couple hours after an episode, and then also the actual show called Talking Dead. I loved those parties, but after the series started sucking, we stopped doing it.
Honestly, that show, it's irresponsible.
But the thought of going to someone else's house and watching a series like this, I just don't think I can handle it. I don't know, guys. Maybe I'm just going through some stuff.
I want you to take that gun and I want you to shoot me like 100 times in the groin until I'm dead, okay?
You have a gun in your desk?
Somewhere.
Right, Michael is going through some stuff for sure. He actually starts this episode off just fine. But his issues start when Kevin suggests that Gabe is his boss, which is a weird thing considering.
You, Gabe.
By the way, this episode of The Office only has one credit for soundtrack, and it's Earthrise on the Moon, performed by Zach Woods.
That's so beautiful.
And he only has 3 soundtracks to his name, and I'll let you go look those up.
Imagine one instant of a song expanded to be the size of the universe.
I can't even do that.
Back to the viewing party stuff. I know that being a control freak about how I consume content is probably not the best to fit into society, but film creates an emotional experience within me that really nothing else on this planet can. This is why it's difficult for me to go to theaters on Friday or Saturday nights, because I can't engage with that feeling, that experience of the film, because people are just chit-chatting the whole time, which, do your thing, but that's just why I started going to the movies at like 2 p.m. on Sundays or Wednesdays at 5:30. Because for me, experiencing emotions, experiencing the story for the very first time in a raw way is incredibly important to me.
Try to destroy the old ways, Gabe. I will not let you.
But let's talk about this more as we dive into the deeper meaning.
What does a bean mean?
Someone please explain it to Kevin.
I kind of think this episode works on multiple levels, making it kind of complex and heavy to watch. Personally, I think there's a little too much stuff happening in this one, but we can get into that during the ratings. The viewing party follows a few different storylines that puts people into 2 different categories: observers and performers. So let's double click into that. Erin is putting on a show, for example, throughout this entire evening, doing her best to be a good hostess, but it's clearly an attempt to garner some sense of acceptance by the one person she really cares about having it from.
Take Gabe, take Michael. You make Gay Mike.
Michael, in this case, is really only looking through the lens of self. He doesn't care about what his approval or general vibe towards the performer is until it's made absolutely clear to him that his approval is exactly what this night was about in the first place.
Skeevy guy with no waist. Why do you care whether we like him or not?
I care if you like him.
Erin's the aggressor, marketing the evening, meeting and greeting the guest, playing the peacemaker.
Gabe is making the pigs in a blanket, and he kind of needs some help, so he was wondering if you could help him.
Erin says aloud in the finale,
She would say, "Go to your room, young lady," and I'd stamp my foot and run upstairs, and I have a room, which is really cool. And then we just have dinner together.
she longs for that sense of a stable parental figure in her life. Through the events of Scott's Tots, Secretary's Day, and some stuff here and there, Michael seems to have earned a spot in her heart for such a role.
I care if you like him.
Why? I'm not your father.
Well, look, I am no therapist, but be careful who you allow to take those places in your heart, because Michael is living in the land of self this entire episode. I think that's what makes the climax of this episode so special. It isn't just the heart-to-heart that they share outside by the cable box. It's what this moment means. It's the resolution of a years-long quest for Michael that he's longed for in almost every episode. To have someone see him as family in their life. To see him as essential. It's touching, not just because these actors pull this off and the characters share so much without actually saying as much.
All right.
Okay.
Go to your room.
But also because we get to see Michael level up in real time. So in that instance, Erin is the performer putting on a show for The Office, but really seeking Michael's approval and validation through it. Jim, Pam, and Dwight, meanwhile, are having their own sideshow.
She's in heat. She will eat your face off.
The reverse cycling ends tonight.
Pam can't quite figure out how Dwight's doing this with Cece, given she might be a little bit sleep deprived.
Which basically means I'm up all day and I'm up all night. And if it doesn't stop soon, I'm gonna be up all night.
Did you guys know there is a connection between lack of sleep and terrible decisions? That one's just for free.
I prefer for him to think of it as degrading. Okay.
Jim does seem to be thinking clearly in this instance, but happy wife, happy life is not a bad way to live, even if it means appease the monster performing the miracle.
A single piece of pepperoni, please. I'm not.
Taking these two plot lines, we see the performer whose attitude is just the worst, with an audience longing to keep him happy, compared to a performer longing to keep their audience engaged and happy, but the demands of the audience and their attitude is ugly. There's a little bit more here on theme, like Andy peacocking, everybody watching the Strangler stuff.
What if it's another Waco?
It's pronounced wacko.
Some events are so newsworthy, so historic, that you have to stop everything to watch. Balloon Boy, Michael Jackson's funeral.
And Gabe's sanitized apartment, which only conveys his personality through some of his decor decisions. Or in other words, like if there was a fire, there'd be nothing here that, he couldn't just order from a catalog to replace. Except I think I did see one picture of Erin. But this is all on the backdrop of the group watching a nationally syndicated primetime television show together, criticizing the series and criticizing each other for how they watch and consume that show.
All the real Glee fans are gonna go down the hall to the real Glee party in the bedroom. Follow me.
And the whole thing feels like meta commentary on what The Office is experiencing at the moment.
And what was with Jesse's sudden turn on Rachel between Dream On and Funk? Where the heck did that come from? Honestly, that show, it's irresponsible.
The Office was huge, but with Carell leaving, no matter what decisions they made, weighing the opinions that is the masses of The Office fandom had to feel like a hopeless endeavor. That moment with Erin and Michael, while working in this episode by itself, may have just been another element reinforcing that this show may have started here.
God, we totally got you.
You're a jerk.
I don't know about that.
But it's heading to here.
I care if you like him.
Why? I'm not your father.
That Michael isn't the only heart of the show. He's not the only main character. The show is and always has been about human connections, even when that connection doesn't really make sense on paper.
I choose you,
That's really nice, thank you.
and I'll blow your mind.
And that's kind of just the way life works, right? Difficult, but unexpectedly subtle and beautiful, even when on paper it shouldn't work. Let's rate this thing.
This is the worst!
What more can I say about this cold opening? It's amazing, easily one of my favorites that does not involve a Jim Dwight prank. It's human.
Just say copies. Why do you have to drag cats into this?
Michael watching the TV like Phyllis does.
The apartment complex.
Police are surrounded.
And we now see what appears to be a SWAT van pulling
SWAT's
up.
arriving.
And to live in a wonderland that is Michael's imagination about what the future would be like has to be like living in Vegas. Somewhere that's like cool to visit, but you don't want to live there.
You go sell these and buy yourself a nice spaceship.
Gets a 5 out of 5 from me. Oh, and plug for my Scranton Strangler series, which is a 4-part true crime series set in the Office universe about the Scranton Strangler. It started as just a super long theory video, which might have done better to be honest with you, but I really wanted to get creative in talking about these theories and played it out like I did. I had a good time filming this with my friends, so check it out if that's your thing. Link will be in the description. As for this episode,
I would watch that.
Tonight might be a convenient night for us to have some intercourse.
As I alluded to earlier, a lot of things happening in this. I counted 5 converging plot lines, which honestly makes this feel very busy.
Which one's Glee?
You have to stop.
It's a lot to keep up with, especially when they added in a lot of these ancillary bits to key in on some of the cringe of parties like this.
Pretty erotic.
Yeah.
Michael steals the bulk of this episode with his brooding behavior, and then the babysitter Dwight is one of my favorite bits in this season. There's something about Dwight being good with kids that just feels right. For me, I could have done without the Alcohorse Andy plotline in this, and that might have fixed a lot of what happens in this episode. As it is, considering how important this moment is for Michael, I can't see giving Viewing Party anything less than 4 out of 5. And I understand if that rubs somebody the wrong way. I like when The Office makes me feel things, and this one certainly did.
Now I've got to go meet Angela.
But that's all I have to say about the Viewing Party. Leave your thoughts about this episode or the field guide in the comments, and let me know what you think. Next week, we are looking at wolf.com.
After that, we have a difficult conversation.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.